Periscope, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you could subscribe, leave a rating and review, and also listen to us on online digital radio. We're now on radio.net, so check us out there. And visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net, and on our app, The Sportscast for iOS. And this episode is brought to you by the Sportscast app. You can download the Sportscast, read the news, listen to the podcast that you miss, and, of course, see the latest news. Big week in the NFL, of course. Not too much changes going on. Of course, you see a defensive tackle being let go or a new lineman being signed, but two big signings today, this week, not today. Big Ben re-signed with the Steelers, and of course, J.J. Watt going to Arizona, which does not make them Super Bowl contenders. But joining us all the way from Pittsburgh, Joe Toscano, and upstate New York, Ryan Christa. Welcome to the Sportscast.
Always great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Hi, good to be here, Santiago.
Ryan, before we start, give us an update of your basketball team.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I, for all the listeners, I coach the Rochester Razor Sharks, currently of the Professional Basketball Association. So right now we are in midst of a national semi-pro basketball tournament called the USBN. We've just advanced to the second round of that, where we will be heading to Scranton, Pennsylvania tomorrow to face the Northeast Pennsylvania Stars and Stripes. So far, so good.
Joe Toscano, how was your week? Was it snowy? Did you shovel your snow a couple of times this week?
It has actually not snowed in over a week here in Pittsburgh, so I don't know what to do. Sometimes I just practice. I just take out my snow shovel and just scrape nothing, just because I'm so used to shoveling snow every day.
There you have it. And I'm in Florida. It's a beautiful week, 90 degrees last Saturday, 57 this morning, but it's going to be 70 this afternoon. I don't want to scare you guys from coming down here, but that's just reality. Let's look at the biggest news of the week, even with a fan that are even for people who are not fans of the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, a man that is in his at the end of his prime, or at the end, pretty much at the end, I would say his career, maybe, re-signed with the Steelers, took a pay cut, taking $15 million instead of $19 million. Joe Toscano, all the way in Pittsburgh, tell us, what was your first reactions?
I was surprised, not that Ben would re-sign. I think that was the prevailing thought all along, that he would be back. It's that he took a pay cut. I think he was supposed to make $19 million, and instead he's making $14 million. So that's a bit of a surprise. If I were to guess, it sounds like what happened was the Steelers said, "Hey, listen, you either make less money this year, or you're not making any money because we're going to cut you." So, I mean, basically the Steelers are totally in the driver's seat here. And I mean, this is the situation they're in. They're kind of stuck with him because Mason Rudolph didn't work out as the future quarterback. So they're stuck with a very old Ben for another year.
Let's go to an unbiased NFL football fan, Ryan Christa. What was your first reactions when you first heard Ben Roethlisberger re-signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers for one more year?
Yeah, like Joe hit on it. They basically probably came to him and gave him an ultimatum. You're not going to get the X amount that you're promised, but we'll give you this, and if you don't want it, there you go. There's the door. And I think he had to take it because even at whatever it is, 14, 15, whatever it ends up being, that's more than he would get on the open market if they released him. So I think he had no choice on taking that money. Basically, it was a win-win because, they need him at least for this year. But this is an important draft for the Steelers because they got to hit on a quarterback here for the future. The time is now. They got weapons. They got to build that offensive line. So, but we'll see.
Joe, as Ryan mentioned, Steelers bought another year to look for a quarterback. They have a 24th pick in the first round this year. I'm not sure if they're going to get a quarterback, but what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to rely on Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, or they're going to go for someone new, brand spanking new?
I'd say it's 50-50 right now, whether they go with somebody like a Mason or a Dwayne Haskins, or get somebody in the draft next year, or get a free agent next year, or go do a trade. I mean, the way things are with the with player movement in the past few years, who knows who's going to be available? I mean, my goodness, people are talking about trading Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and Darnold. So there might be people available, but I think right now they're probably not going to get a quarterback this year because they're basically going to want to say, okay, let's try to make the best possible team for Ben, and then maybe they'll worry about quarterback next year. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? A lot of last minute, tricks up your sleeve type of scenarios in the NFL. Ryan Christo, what do you think about the Steelers? What should they do? Should they kind of groom Dwayne Haskins and Rudolph, or they should look elsewhere in the college pool?
I don't think you can depend. I mean, picking up Dwayne Haskins was, kind of a free chance. The guy needed a second chance, and he really hasn't proven himself. Obviously, his time in Washington was an utter failure for, being a high draft pick.
Was it a Washington thing that spoiled Haskins that made him bad, or do you think him going to the Steelers could help, bring back that reputation he was once known with Ohio State?
I mean, he didn't show anything that would make you think that it was more of a Washington issue. Maybe it was a cultural issue there. I don't think Rivera really liked him, so he was always kind of looking for a way to get rid of him when Ron Rivera came. But again, he hasn't had a lot of opportunities. I think we've seen enough of Mason Rudolph to know that he's probably not the heir apparent. I don't think he's horrible in the sense that he could be a career-long backup, but that's not going to build your franchise around. Yeah, so when you got, your 24th pick, is have a choice, quarterback, or do they try to, build that team, like Joe said, give Ben Roethlisberger every weapon he possibly could. Whatever they do, I think they're a good team. I think they're a team that could compete for the division, but there's definitely better teams out there in the AFC for sure.
Well, Joe, you heard Ryan, and we heard Joe. Pretty much, it's not going to be those two in the bench, Haskins or Rudolph. Of course, you do have a Watson out there, but Texans are not going to let him go. Apparently, Watson's going to sit out and pay fines every day. And then, of course, you got Russell Wilson. And I want to hear Ryan Christa's take on this because I know that you follow this pretty closely. What's going on with Russell Wilson? Is this the whole trade rumor serious, or you think this is just talk, and he's going to stay in Seattle eventually?
It's hard to tell. I've been trying to read in, different sources if this is just smoke, from Russell Wilson's camp, trying to get their way out but also saying, they would play there, but just try. I think there is some, frustration within the organization. A lot of quarterbacks, marquee quarterbacks, kind of got the say in how the organization runs, and he's feeling that he's not getting that say, and they're not. I don't know if he doesn't, like the direction of the franchise. I just can't, when you think of Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks, you think Russell Wilson. It's just one of those things, it's hard to think elsewhere that he could go somewhere else. But Joe said, it's open market right now with these names. We've never seen franchise quarterbacks, move, or rumored to be moved like this in any years in the past, I don't think.
Joe Toscano, any final thoughts on Russell Wilson and the hurrah that's happening in Seattle?
I've always said between Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson that they're not going anywhere, because if they were to be traded, the cap hit would be really large. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I mean, it's on contracts. So if they were to be traded, the cap hit would be enormous. But then again, that really wasn't an issue. I mean, there was an issue with Carson Wentz. It seems like teams are willing to take those hits. So who knows what's going to happen? I think it's very interesting that teams and players are exercising a little bit of power and saying, hey, I don't like it. I don't want to be here. Now we'll see Deshaun Watson is basically refusing to play. We'll see what actually happens. And we'll see how unhappy Russell Wilson really is. So we'll see whether they end up playing or not. But it's very interesting that players are, trying to exercise their power a little bit more.
Sounds like the NBA, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah,
It is. Players in the NBA hold a lot of power and moving and shaking. You don't see that as much in the NFL. Here and there, but it'll be interesting. I really am captivated by this Deshaun Watson thing. He's really put his foot in the ground and said, "I'm not going to play." And the Texans have said, "We're not trading you." What's going to win out? It really, it's a money issue for the Texans. What are they going to get back? What compensation? What's the hit they're going to take in the salary cap? Because, in reality, if you make a trade with the Jets and you could get a quality quarterback like a Sam Darnold to step in, or what I'm praying for, sending him to the Broncos, and you can get a subpar quarterback in Drew Lock back in return, but at least you get a starting quarterback. And
Did you say a subpar quarterback, Drew Lock?
Oh, no. Maybe it's Tyler Turner rubbing off on me to Santiago.
Anyways, a lot of different scenarios could happen. I personally don't see the Texans moving him unless they start feeling the pressure from Watson saying, hey, I'm going to sit out. So the options are going to be quite considerable. Speaking about the Texans, J.J. Watt left the Texans, is going to Arizona Cardinals, 2-year deal for $31 million with $23 million guaranteed. Joe Toscano, we were talking about this offline. He was going to get paid more if he stayed with Houston, but decided to go with the Cardinals. What were your thoughts about this?
I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, that he actually wasn't going to get that money from Texans. I'm guessing they were going to release him, and just to let him save face, they just said, "Hey, we'll make it sound like you asked for the release." But I don't think. That's who knows what's going on with the Texans, but that was a bit of a mess. But yeah, that JJ Watt said he wanted to go to a contender, but really he just wanted to get paid. And hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with wanting to get more money. He was rumored to come to the Steelers, but I'm guessing the Steelers were going to offer him much less because they're in cap trouble. And he was probably going to make, less, whether he went to the Packers or the Bills or the Browns or whatever.
Or the Broncos.
Yeah, right. But hey, I don't blame him for wanting to live in Arizona rather than Wisconsin.
Brian, Arizona Cardinals in a tough NFC West conference. What are your thoughts about this? Will this make the Cardinals better? I was joking around with someone like, oh, well, this could help them win the Super Bowl, but everyone says, nah, not really. What are your thoughts about this move?
I don't know that it makes you go from non-contender to contender, but it definitely, this wasn't a bad team. I think this was just a team that got caught up in a really good division, that has a, second-year quarterback who kind of stumbled, it wasn't consistent enough in crucial times during this start of the season. But, you got the quarterback in Kyler Murray, you got the system, you got a heck of a wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. And now you're going to pair him with, I think, an underrated, a guy who doesn't get the recognition maybe a name in Chandler Jones. I think that is a dynamic duo who's going to put a lot of pressure on these NFC West quarterbacks. I think this makes them, especially with trouble in paradise with Seattle. I don't know what you're going to get with the Rams. They're kind of a wild card with Matt Stafford. Does this make the Cardinals the top of the NFC West? I think it might.
Top of the NFC West. Joe, do you agree or disagree?
It's very possible. The Cardinals have some pieces. They have a good quarterback, DeAndre Hopkins.
Kenyon Drake.
So, and it's not like the Cardinals are some terrible team. They're in an extremely tough division, but they could easily put something together and be one of the better teams in the division and one of the better teams in the conference. So, yeah, it's very possible that they could be really good.
It's interesting, Ryan. I actually was seeing a mock draft this morning about Mac Jones going to the 49ers.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the 49ers are looking to upgrade the quarterback position in any way possible. All I can think of is that Jimmy G probably won't be the quarterback. Maybe he might be the quarterback this year, but he's definitely not the long-term quarterback of the 49ers. They got they've got such a great roster when they're all healthy. And they had injuries last year, and they were never a threat because of those injuries. But if they're all healthy on both sides of the ball, that's a great team. If they can just find that consistency in the passing game.
Cannot believe it. Garoppolo, known as the Golden Boy, a man that Belichick eyed on, a person that Tom Brady envied, is now his days are numbered, but we'll see.
I mean, it's just hard to believe. I mean, he was one quarter away from winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So, I mean, this guy
one pass.
One pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one pass away from winning that game.
Yeah, exactly. And they win it, maybe we don't think of Jimmy G as, an average quarterback at best, but so that's just how things can turn so quickly. And like I said, I think they just ran into a brick wall of injuries and they just could never get their feet going. He was injured a lot. I think it's unfair to kind of throw him under the bus and he's kind of be the scapegoat, but we'll see.
And also the COVID and playing in Arizona rather than California. So a couple issues there. Another madness story that's still in the placeholder, which we're going to look at next couple of weeks, maybe this week. Dak Prescott, will he be tagged or not? We'll start with Joe with the Cowboys.
Probably. Yeah, they'll probably at least keep him for 1 year and try to sign some outrageous deal with him.
That's a Cowboys thing, isn't it?
It's a Cowboys thing. And I mean, hey, he's, when he was healthy last year, the Cowboys had one of the best offenses in the league. It was absolutely crazy. The problem was their defense was absolutely horrible, but the offense was just fine. So, hey, you got something good. Keep it going. Now, how much he's going to make, that's going to be fun. We'll see. I mean, what, 40, 45 million a year?
Oof.
50? Who knows?
Man, and low
Jerry
taxes.
Jones we're talking about.
Exactly. Ryan, Krista, I know a few of your family members are Cowboys fans. What's going to happen to Dak?
I think Joe hit it. Yeah. I mean, the only way he plays for the Cowboys next year right now is they franchise tag him because in the current salary cap going lower, I mean, that's the way you can go above the salary cap is signing a franchise tag. So I don't foresee them probably having that because you sign, you've got Zeke Elliott on a long-term deal. You got Amari Cooper with an outrageous deal, which I think they've got limited, capacity to sign, Dak to the contract I think he wants. So at least franchise tagging him buys you another year because you let him go, right? You don't do that, you're going to get nothing from him, and now you're going to have to really rebuild, As they saw, Dak is the engine of this team, as most teams, you're only as good as your quarterback is. And, once he left, his average, as decent as Andy Dalton can be, the Cowboys really took a hit last year. So I think it really showed the value of Dak Prescott. As Joe said, the numbers he was putting up the first month of the season was torrid. A lot to do because they had to play catch up.
Oof. That connection's kicking in.
That connection's as
Ryan,
sorry,
you there?
I was going to say that connection's as good as it's.
I'm here.
Yes, you went a little bit haywire, but I think you're back 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying it. I just need a franchise tag him. That's all I was here.
Kenny Galladay, another big name that I see on the list. Ryan, what do you think is going to happen there? Will Detroit resign him, or we'll see him in a new uniform next season?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they might. He's a good wide receiver, but again, this is a team with a lot of holes. I think they're going to, what is the identity of this team? I don't know. Other than their coach is good for some good one-liners now, Dan Campbell.
He's been
we'll
he's
see
been
where
on the news this
British
past 2
franchise is
weeks.
going. I just think.
Wow, Ryan's making some music.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what goes on.
We'll stick with Joe because Joe has a good connection. Kenny Galladay, what are your thoughts about him?
Put him on the Rams. Reunite him with Stafford.
Ooh, that would be icing on the cake. Well, anyways, also Justin Simmons from the Broncos. Ryan, what's gonna happen there in Denver?
I mean, we would like to re-sign him, Santiago. It's just, I think, his price tag. And, the Broncos have got a decision to make here with Von Miller. He's got a huge cap number, and they'll take a hit if they release him. But the salary he would make this year is huge. And, again, the lower the salary cap is going to make a lot of teams. You talked about there hasn't been a lot of activity. I just wait a couple more weeks, Santiago. I think we're going to see a lot of cap victims here, salary cap victims, and a lot of people being released.
When do you think we'll see more? Like at the end of March?
Once the league season starts here in a couple, we'll get going here as we get closer to the draft too. It will pick up, Santiago. I promise you. We'll see a lot of.
I'm bored, Ryan. Help me out.
Until after the draft too, you can release them whenever, but.
Well, everyone's saying there's going to be a crazy quarterback acceleration and the moves and everything. Of course, yeah, we've seen Wentz going to Indy, and like some more moves out there. So it's going to be we'll see more stuff action, and and then of course we'll get things going soon. Alex Smith released from Washington. Is that something that weirded me out? But did you guys find that a little bit suspicious?
I guess, for me, it was weird because I think, he had this really cool story last year, and then he comes out and basically says the Redskins didn't want me, they didn't want me to succeed, but, it seemed like, So I think by saying that he was I don't know if he was trying to get out of Washington. But at the same time, I don't know what the value is for an older quarterback with like 11 leg surgeries. I think he's coming obviously to be a backup somewhere. I don't think he's going out there to be a starter. So, but the rumors are surfacing that he's going to go and be Trevor Lawrence's mentor / So we'll see.
In Jacksonville Jaguars, Joe. Closing thoughts on Alex Smith being released from Washington.
Yeah, he is. He would be a perfect backup somewhere, and it's a miracle that he could play at all. So, good for him with all the horrible surgeries and stuff he's gone through. So, good for him that he could play at all. Who knows what's going on in Washington? But the one point I wanted to make, you're wondering about player movement. In less than 2 weeks, there's going to be a tsunami of player movement. There's going to be a salary apocalypse coming.
I have lot of cuts. In just a minute.
Yes, the cap limit is being lowered, isn't it?
There's going to be a lot of surprises, a lot of players cuts. It is going. It's. I don't feel bad for people making millions of dollars, but still, a lot of players are going to get cut.
Ryan, it's because of the COVID, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It just because of the COVID that the salaries are reduced. Salary cap is reduced. So yes, it has a lot to do with COVID. So
also was reading that Amazon might sign exclusivity for for Thursday Night Football. So you can only see Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. That should be interesting. And then Disney had a new contract with with the NFL. We got to close this fast, Joe. Ryan's making music with his connection. Maybe Ryan should call in. I don't know if that might be better. I have to hop. Oh, okay. Ryan has to go soon. Okay. Before we go, let's make some predictions for the All-Star game. The rosters, Team LeBron is, of course, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Steve Curry, Giannis, Nicholas Jokic, Reserves is Lillard, Simmons, Paul Brown, Paul George, Sabonis, Rudy Gobert, Team Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum. Reserves Harden, Booker, Williamson, Levine, Randall, Vucevic, and Donovan Mitchell. Ryan Krista, who do you think is going to win the All-Star game this Sunday night in Atlanta? Team Durant versus Team LeBron.
I never doubt Team LeBron. It's my go-to in life.
Joe Toscano, Team LeBron versus Team Durant. Who do you got?
Any team that has Giannis is a team I want. He's my man.
And there you go. That's Team LeBron again. Which team wears blue the best? Dallas Mavericks, NBA team. Mavericks, the New York Knicks, the Detroit Pistons, or the Clippers? Joe.
The only thing the Knicks have going for them is their uniform, so I'll say the Knicks.
And Ryan Krista, who wears blue the best in the NBA, and I think I know what your answer will be.
Of course, Santiago, the first one to answer this poll this morning, the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas Mavericks in their 8th in the West, and we'll see how far they go in the second half of the season. Ryan Krista, before you go, what's the best way to reach you to find out some good recipes for the NBA All-Star game this Sunday night?
Mad Dog Report on Twitter, probably the best way.
And Joe Toscano, I'm not sure if you're going to watch the All-Star game, but what's the best way to reach you on a Sunday night this Sunday?
I don't know what I'll be doing Sunday night. I think I'll be watching the Penguins probably lose again. I'm Joey Bag of Donuts, V instead of an F.
And there you have it. NBA All-Star game this Sunday. Huge week in sports, NBA, of course, and then NFL free agency. These guys say it will be picking up in the next few weeks. Great to see some NFL news, some sports news. And, of course, there's always tech news when Amazon's interested on Thursday Night Football. Guys, Joe Toscano, Ryan Krista, pleasure for you guys coming on to the Sportscast.
Thanks for having me, Santiago.